Harry Potter. Did the books or movies do it better? Let's dive in and analyze some of the differences, what worked, what didn't work, and decide which version truly outshines. With 7 books and 8 film adaptations, there are bound to be many differences between the two. So, first up, let's talk about the main characters of the Golden Trio: Harry, Ron, and Hermione. And of course, the rest of the cast from Hogwarts to Diagon Alley. In the books, Harry is described as having a thin face, knobbly knees, and bright green eyes. He wears glasses that are held together with tape because of his cousin Dudley's bullying. He also has a lightning-shaped scar on his forehead, which marks him as the boy who lived, the boy who survived Lord Voldemort's attack. Daniel Radcliffe, who plays him in the movie and portrays him wonderfully, does have a few differences when it comes to his physical appearance. For instance, Daniel has bright blue eyes, and the makeup team placed that lightning-shaped scar in the middle of his forehead. Next up is Hermione Granger, who is beautifully played by Emma Watson in the movies. In the books, Hermione is described as having bushy brown hair, large front teeth, and brown eyes. She is also relentlessly teased throughout the books for being a know-it-all and a teacher's pet, but she never lets that teasing stand in the way of her ambition or her smarts. In the movies, however, Hermione has tamed, wavy curls, and completely average-looking teeth. These changes were probably made to ensure that moviegoers found Hermione to be more aesthetically pleasing and not at all nerdy. The last in the trio is Ron Weasley. Ron is the youngest of the Weasley family, and in the books, he's described as having a long nose, lots of freckles, and bright red hair. He's also described as being quite tall, and he often wears the hand-me-downs of his older siblings. Now, don't get me wrong, Rupert Grint, who plays him in the movie, fits this characteristic to a T, but he isn't quite as tall as Ron is in the books. Rupert does, however, manage to capture the humor and the loyalty and the friendship and the goofy facial expressions described throughout the book with Ron. Last but certainly not least is the franchise's antagonist, Lord Voldemort, brilliantly played by Ralph Fiennes in the movies. In the books, Voldemort is described as being tall and thin, with deathly pale skin, beady red eyes, and a snake-like nose. The movies perfectly capture these features with makeup and movie magic, but they left out the beady red eyes. Now, let's get into some of the major plot differences where the gap between the books and the films become much more apparent. Like in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, this movie is the complete lack of Winky the house elf. In the books, Winky belongs to the Crouch family, and she plays a pretty pivotal role in all of the revelations we get about Barty Crouch Jr. House elves in general play a much larger role in the books than they do on the screen, especially for Hermione. After seeing the mistreatment of house elves at Hogwarts and in private residences, Hermione founded the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, or SPEW, which doesn't really make an appearance in the films. And house elves aren't the only characters that were cut out of the adaptations. There are so many beloved characters that were simply left out of the movies, like Ron's older brother Charlie, who only makes an appearance as a photo in The Prisoner of Azkaban. And while Hogwarts has no shortage of mischievous ghosts in the movies, they completely left Peeves the Poltergeist out. In the books, Peeves is this mischievous figure who messes with the students and helps to create a lot of comic relief in between all of the drama. They did actually cast someone, Rick Mayall, to play the character in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, but he ultimately ended up on the cutting room floor, and with that, Peeves never made an appearance again. In Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, we get to see Harry learn about the prophecy and how he is connected to Lord Voldemort. But in the books, there's a much deeper, richer exploration into what the prophecy's implications mean for Harry and everyone around him. The book also has time to let Harry process the grief of losing his godfather, Sirius Black, and even grapples with the feeling of regret and almost feeling responsible for his death. While we do get to see the emotional fallout of Sirius's death in the movie, we don't get to see the same richness or the same exploration that we get in the book. it's not all bad. There are a lot of things that the movies did right. One of the most impressive aspects is the ability to bring to life the world of Harry Potter. With the beautiful set designs and special effects and the wizarding duels, it's all jaw-dropping. The films are able to show the magic and bring it to life in ways that the book was only able to hint at. I mean, Quidditch on the big screen is beyond any fan's wildest dreams. Even those of us that might have played Quidditch in college. The casting choices were spot on. I mean, can you imagine anyone other than Daniel, Emma, and Rupert playing Harry, Hermione, and Ron? And they delivered some of the most iconic performances in movie history. But, and there is a pretty big but here, the films gloss over a lot of the emotional depth and character development that made the book so special. Fans of the books know that there is a lot of detailed world building and character arcs, and a lot of that was sacrificed in the name of speed in the films, leaving a lot of that rich nuance behind. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is probably the best of the adaptations because the book and the film are fairly closely aligned, even if Prisoner of Azkaban is the best movie in the franchise. So let's get into some of the strengths and weaknesses of the film adaptations. One strength is the phenomenal set designs and the incredible score by John Williams, which helps to really establish the environment and tone for the entire franchise. A second strength is the ability of the films to capture the essential plot lines. Screenwriter Steve Kloves adapted the first 4 books and the last 2, with Michael Goldenberg fulfilling the duties for the 5th. Both screenwriters managed to distill all of the winding subplots and themes from the books, trimming out redundancies and making it more enjoyable for moviegoers, even if that meant sacrificing some of our favorite plots and characters in the process. But ultimately, it was for the good because it allowed us to really track Harry's journey, fighting Voldemort and the Death Eaters and studying for owls and newts all throughout the franchise. And the third strength is the fact that we had the chance to grow up with Harry visually. I mention this because the books were initially written for children, and the films, while also for children at the start, do start to have a tonal shift in the midpoint as things start to get darker and more sinister for Harry. Although the books have a lot of this built into them as well, seeing it visually on screen really helped fans understand Harry's fight against evil. Another weakness is the fact that the 8-film franchise had 4 different directors. And while it is great to have different voices thrown into the mix, this does ultimately create a bit of a visual dissonance between the films, as each director brought in their own unique visual storytelling, aesthetics, and themes. For example, Chris Columbus directed the first 2 films in the franchise. He's very well known for creating family-oriented comedies, so naturally, those first 2 films are very charming and kid-friendly, and they have a very pleasing aesthetic. And then, along came Alfonso Cuarón, who came on to direct Prisoner of Azkaban. And while this is a turning point in the books as well, where things start to get a lot more darker, Cuarón brought a very gritty, edgy, dark aesthetic to the film, which ultimately makes it one of the best in the franchise, but it also means that it's tonally different from the films that come before and after it. And then, of course, Mike Newell arrived, and he kind of returned to this family drama element that we kind of got in those first 2 films with Chris Columbus. So, which did it better, the books or the movies? Personally, I think they both have their merits. The books were a far more immersive experience, lending itself to more storytelling and world building and emotional depth, as it gave us a detailed look into Harry's life and the struggle against good versus evil. But the movies were able to bring all of that to life visually, making it more accessible to a wider audience. And besides, true Potterheads know that it is totally okay to love both of them. At the end of the day, I think it's safe to say the books have the advantage. They are the heart and soul of the Harry Potter universe, and don't get me wrong, the movies are great adaptations and great additions to the wizarding world, but they were never truly able to capture the magic of cracking open a Harry Potter book for the very first time. But what do you think? Do you prefer the books? Do you prefer the movies? Let me know in the comments, and until then, mischief managed.